There's a talk that I want to give, and then a word popped into my head at the end of class that wants to be said. Let's see if they will interweave at all. The word is unconditional. There can be no conditions. You cannot have conditions on anything in life. Without this, I won't do it. If I don't have this, then no way. It has to be like this, or it has to be like that. That's where we get stuck as people. We have all these conditions that define how we want to live, who we want to be, how we want to be treated. And in a certain sense, we are a construct of conditions. We want to have life on our terms, under our conditions. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And your conditions, as much as you impose them and even get them to be acknowledged, are ultimately not going to hold up. And you're going to have to realize that you have to let them go. That you need to be, in every regard in life, unconditional. To love unconditionally. Meaning, you won't love somebody only if they love you in a particular way. And as I work with all of you, I really feel your conditions, your comfort zone, how you want to be treated, how you want to be seen, how you want to be known, how you want to be acknowledged. And what I'm discovering is that this energy force that we work with, this unnameable awareness, isn't interested in your conditions. It doesn't care. It really wants them gone. And that our job is to consciously work with this broader, deeper, higher understanding and realize that our conditions are limiting us in our exposure to and experience of life. And the central core of the practice, really this thing I talked about the last time we were here, of asking to surrender, is really asking to let go of your conditional life. And I know that in making the move here from California, my conditions became very clear. I want this, I want that, I want this, and I don't want it that way, and I can't be like this. And the universe went, I don't care what you want. We're not giving it to you on your terms. It's just happening. And in getting beaten up that way, I'm discovering that it knows more than I do. It's wiser than me. And that I limit it. And it's basically saying, stop limiting me. Stop keeping me in check. Let me be. The me that's saying, let me be, is really us. But most of us don't know us. Most of us know the story we've been told about us, or the story we reinforce about us every day. You know, your mother started telling you a story, your father, your brothers and sisters and cousins and school teachers and friends, all created an image of who you are, and how you reacted to that began to be the conditional you. And the conditional you is a very tightly wound construct, and it is very limiting, and it defines a life that is held together by these strands of what was, who you believe yourself to be, who you've been reinforced to believe you are, and this larger me, this greater I am, knows you to be so beyond that. You're so much bigger. You're so much more than you imagine. And so what happens in this class is I experience this. I sit down and I meet the conditional person. Not in every case, but in many cases, I meet the person who is here on their terms, defining how much they will take, how much they will accept, how much they will refer to the process that's happening as a positive. When it goes over the top, when it kind of gets in the way of their conditioning, there's something that happens. And I'm starting to feel more and more that this energy is going to underride those conditions and is going to expose them to you and is going to wipe them out. And either you're here for that and are willing to let go of this is who I am and allow yourself to become who you are, or you're not. And if you're not, this will become increasingly uncomfortable. But the amazing thing is, almost everyone in this room has been here so often, for so long, that you have really, in a way, expressed an enormous desire for the process, but you've also found a certain comfortable niche in it. You're comfortable at this particular presentation, and you're willing to come and reinforce that regularly and feel good about where you are and where you've come to and what you've arrived at and this spiritual sensibility. But I can only tell you, you are about to be undermined. And if you don't like it, I apologize. If you don't want to be undermined, then you shouldn't come. But I'm not here to reinforce the what was. I'm not here to present you with aren't we a great group of people in this incredible sort of spiritual connection. None of that is important. It is really about extracting yourself from all the conditions of your life and discovering really and profoundly who you are, which unconditionally is remarkable. So much more than you can believe under the conditioned demands that you have placed on yourself and you have allowed others to place on you. But getting rid of those conditions is hard, and it's painful, and it is challenging in the extreme. And if you really open up to it, it will shake the very foundations of who you are. And I will tell you, as you get older, those foundations are going to get shaken anyway. So it can be a purposeful shake-up and a purposeful tearing down the walls of your comfort and your conditions, or it can be perceived as a why me God situation. Why do I have to go through this? Why can't I be singled out for perfection? Why can't I transcend all of that stuff? The reality is, when they tear you down, when they take away the conditions, you as a human being are going to respond to that, and you're not going to particularly like it. You may get to see parts of yourself you don't even know about or you don't want to have to acknowledge are there. But in the process of doing it, you're going to get to see parts of yourself you didn't know were there. That's a good thing, because you can't let go of the stuff you don't see. So as it starts to rise up, as it will in the process of getting older and wiser, you will begin to look forward to something that you have been able through the whole course of your life not to see. And that is that you are going to die. We all know it. We all know somewhere down the road there's this existential transformational moment. And we have no idea what it really goes to. We have teachings that suggest where it may go. But we are going to cease to exist, and we are going to have to give up all of the biology, metaphysical and physical tonality of our being to something other. Whether it's total blackout or whether it's total light and joy, we'll find out. You can place your bets where you want. But the reality of the fact that this is coming to an end, and some of us in this room are a little closer to that, some not, but the inevitability that this ends will begin to have enormous impact on your day-to-day life. Things will change. Your behaviors will change. Your sense of the world will change. Your sense of how I get up in the morning, what I do with the day, how I sleep, how I don't sleep. All of these things are going to be in great transformative, altering state. We are living in a very interesting moment in the world. You may or may not want me as a spiritual teacher to talk about it, but I can't not talk about what affects me. And so I'm going to relate to this idea that we may be coming to the end of the world. I know that's like a science fiction movie. And I know that most people, when they hear it, put it into science fiction mode and don't in any way want to believe it's possible. Of course, if you read any of the current various magazines and newspaper articles that are beginning to proliferate, they're devoting whole issues to what they call a climate crisis. And there are ways to imagine that everything will work out fine, but there are very, very strong voices that say it's too late for that to happen, that we are already, if you will, doomed. Now, I throw that out there as a science fiction idea. We are doomed. And it doesn't, there's no real way to quite relate to that, and most people don't relate to it. You know, I mean, people try to think of, well, what can I do? And we feel all pretty helpless in the magnitude of what's going on. And we see a world of unusual toxicity and crisis going on all around us. And we can live very quietly in our own little peaceful bubble, which is completely acceptable. That's a thing you can do. Or you can be very engaged if you want, but you may lose your sense of self in that process. But what is going on is we are all having to interact with and dialogue with a period of change that is bigger than anything we have ever dealt with ourselves. I talk about this a lot. It's not like this is new to the world. My parents were going about their business, getting married, being happy. Everything was wonderful, and then there was an unbelievable stock market crash. My mother's family lost their home. A world war came up. Somebody turned up in England, in Germany, and in Italy, and people realized they had to fight this awful force that had come into power, and the world was completely thrown into disarray, and awful things happened. And in the middle of that awfulness, my parents did something kind of shocking and interesting. They decided to have a baby. The world's falling apart, and they decide to have a baby. Kind of stupid on one level, and yet I am totally and endlessly grateful that they did that. The world may or may not be falling apart again. We certainly see the rise of political forces that have similarities to what happened back in the 1930s. I now am old enough to see that these cyclical events occur throughout history, and have always and will always, and we were basically, those of us who've lived up to now have been spared most of that drama, but now we're not being spared it. But now it's really coming at a level that we have never collectively as a world of humanity experienced before. And that is that we may have polluted the world we lived in irreparably. And we may not be able to correct course. And the world may, some scientists say will, come to an end. And we may have been born at a time where we will see our own end coincide with the end of all there is. I find that very challenging and disturbing. And I have tried to work with this idea and try to figure out, well, what do I do? I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a filmmaker, I have a voice, I talk to friends, I talk to family. What do I do? Do I spread fear? Do I say it's all going to be okay, honey, don't worry about it? Do I talk to you guys about it, or do I just forget that we can just talk about the spiritual and the transcendent, and we'll be fine? But the person you've attracted here sitting talking to you is someone who cares about this. And I have been trying to understand my role, still trying to understand it. But it came to me partly through an article in the New Yorker by a guy named Jonathan Franzen, who's a very well-known novelist, who wrote a really interesting article that basically said, it's over. We've lost. The world is going to end. And I was very compelled by it, and I started to read it and realized that he was coming to the same conclusions that I am coming to. And I think the thing that helped me being reinforced by his thoughts and that I want to share with you is basically it all comes to an end. We come to an end. Our children come to an end. All life ultimately comes to an end. Probably never when you want it to. Mostly you would like it to go on a little bit longer, a little bit more healthily, a little bit more comfortably. But the truth is, it is going to come to an end, and if you cannot make peace with your own end, making peace with the end of the world will be impossible. But they share certain similarities, and those similarities are that we are born into something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, that end, spiritually speaking, may mean eternity, that it goes on forever. Not in its current form, but in some transformed form. The end may be blackout, finished, done. There may be consequences to our journey, that we may be accountable for all the things we've done in life. We may be unaccountable. Take the risk one way or the other. Live an accountable life or an unaccountable life. You can make that choice. I would push you toward the accountable, and I will definitely share that my experience and my feeling is that life is eternal, that we are infinite beings, and that we go on, and that we are living in something so much bigger and grander than our mind can comprehend, and that we will move onward into that, and it is not ever separate from us. It is watching us, it is with us, it is us, but it also grades us, if you will. We are accountable to it. We are accountable to living a noble life, or the best version of life we can have. That's true for our own personal existence, and it's also true if the world is going to end. I would love to be wrong about the world coming to an end, and it does feel science fiction even as I talk about it. But, I watched the Hurricane Dorian, and I looked at, the Bahamas, and I went, that's what it looks like. And I'm aware enough scientifically of the challenges that we face. So the question is what to do. And it's a question of what to do, not just about the world coming to an end, it's what to do about me coming to an end. And what you discover is it's the same thing. It's the same kind of finding your way into profound surrender. Letting go of life in the sense that you need it to be on your terms. Letting go of the conditions. Understanding, one way or another, this is a temporary ride for you, for every person on the planet, for every animal, for every plant, for every tree. It has always been written thus: this will not last. I thought it would last a lot longer than it appears to be. I would pray and hope that it can. I would love to see the gorgeous reality of every day that I wake up to perpetuated forever. I would like that. Maybe in the larger universal scheme of things, in the multitudes of universes and worlds that probably fill time and space, this is going on already in a million other places, and we will continue this journey in other forms. I have no idea. But what I do know is I am here, and what motivates me and what speaks to me is I love it here. And I love you guys, and I love my children, and I love my grandchildren, and I love my front yard, and I love my backyard. I'm living in a house I don't even know. It's like the Twilight Zone. How did I get to this house? It feels like a stage set to me. On the other hand, it's like an amazing stage set. It works. It works. I don't understand how I got here, but I know I was moved here. And I'm going, okay. I didn't go okay on the whole ride. I fought it tooth and nail. But I did finally go, this isn't so bad. This is really kind of nice. And I feel like I'm here for a reason, and that we're all here for a reason, and we're collectively in this room for a reason. The most that I want to say is that I think our job moving forward is to wake up in the morning and be grateful we're here. To really look outside and appreciate the sunrise. To really understand that we have another person or other people in our lives that we can reach out to and touch and hold and enjoy and tell them you love them, and that you can have the comfort of a warm house or a cool house on a hot day, or the rain is coming and you're in a protected zone. You're living like this until you're not. When we're not, we'll talk about that. What we can do before that is every considerate and kind thing we can do to people around us, to ourselves, to each other, to perpetuate the best version of human life that we can do. Whatever happens, knowing you're going to die and that the world is going to die is not a reason to jump off a cliff. It's not a reason to do bad things. It's not a reason to be angry and hostile at the world. The world has always been thus. It has always been birth, life, death. I know it's going to get weird out there, and I know it's going to get strange, and we're going to experience some of it in our lives more problematically for me and my grandchildren's lives. And so what I've had to do in dealing with my grandchildren is just what I'm telling you: we all die. Even if it's not through climate change, my grandchildren are going to die. It happens. And unless you make peace with birth and death, unless you love the part that experiences being here, and unless you are willing to let it go when the time comes, or even before the time comes, and experience this transformational change into the unknown mystery that we are heading toward, that we are actually living in, unless you can do that, what happens is you end up living a life of conditional existence, where it works only on your terms. And then right now we are at a time where the conditions are all eradicating. We're all living at a time where the unconditional has to emerge, and we have to accept bigger and more demanding truths than we've ever had to deal with before. And they're going to move us. We are going to be put into action. Or you can go sit in a monastery and meditate. There's no reason not to do that. But I will tell you, one way or another, we are going to collectively experience what it means to come to an end. And in the process of doing that, there is something that can be exquisitely beautiful about sharing the joy and the gratitude of being before that occurs. It is a remarkable thing to be alive. It is a remarkable thing. And if you want to know poignancy, watch what it means to be alive when death is coming at you. It changes the dynamic. You really understand that this is a gift. You really understand it's short-lived. You really understand it comes with suffering. You really understand that it's not always an easy journey. But there is something, if you become unconditional, where it goes, okay. There's this thing, other people use these terms, and I like them, but so I'll repeat them. They're not mine, but it's radical acceptance. Radical acceptance means yes to this. Yes to your life, yes to your death, and yes to the death of the world. And if the world is going to die around us, let it die with us planting gardens. Let it die with us mowing the lawn, washing the window, hugging each other, caring about what's next, doing the thing that's in front of us as well as we can. Let us watch the world depart as we maintain, with whatever strength we have, the kindness and the compassion to be good to one another rather than hiding in a hole and terrified of everything that's around us. I think it's the only path. And Jonathan Franzen, in his article, referenced this idea. At one point, I wanted to get a documentary camera and go around to all these spiritual leaders and say, what do we do? What is your prognosis? How do you think we should handle the end of time and space? I was curious to know what everybody would say, but after I read this article, I said, well, that's the only piece of information I want. Live your day, love your life. Do good work. Do the kind of thing you think is helpful. Get good people elected to office. Try to change the dynamic of things if you can change them, if we have time to change anything. Do your part. Do your part in the world. Don't just sit back and complain, and don't just say, this isn't how I wanted it. Because there's nothing in that. There's no value in that. The only value is in being available to the real unfolding of what is the unconditional embrace of the world, not as you wanted it, but as it appears, and as it comes rushing at you, or as it comes lifting you up and moving you to somewhere else, even if you don't like where it's taking you. Trust me, you will be taken where you need to be, and whatever that is, you will find the strength to be a great servant of the deep inner joy of being, no matter what the conditions. The most moving stories to me in the world are stories that come out of the Holocaust and people who give their last piece of bread to somebody. That is, I mean, you may say, oh my God, the Holocaust is so terrible, all these horrible things happen. The fact that somebody is selfless enough to, and they're starving and they give their bread to their child or to their parent or to their wife or whatever, those stories make this massive human experiment, this existence that we have, means something. It's important. I, as a writer, look for those nuggets that make me feel human life was worth it. It may not have ultimate meaning. It may not go on forever. We may not have Shakespeare into eternity. It all may disappear. But the reality is we had Shakespeare. We had Monet. We had Cézanne. We have the great beings, and we had each other. That's the reality. That is an amazing reality. And the fact is, more amazing that we had it, we have it. We have it right now. So collectively, I'm going to share with you, up until we can't do this anymore, I will sit here And we will continue to have a communal experience of something that is so exquisite that doesn't happen outside of our gathering very often. It can happen privately, you can have it yourself, you can have it with others, but this coming together to sit in stillness and feel this rising into something that loves us so deeply should be continued. So it will be. And as long as we're on this ride together, we'll celebrate being together, we'll celebrate the journey, and we will do the work in the world that we have to do, and I will try to talk about it and reinforce it as often as I can to the degree that you need to hear it. And when you don't need to hear it, you don't need to come here unless you just want to kind of sit and let us all share in this. It's hard to describe what this is, but I don't feel it in any other space. I feel it basically where I walk and talk, because I've been learning to embrace it in a sense, to share it. I feel enveloped in it, but it's like we're all in it. We're all in this together, and we're all part of something really remarkable. Let's enjoy it as best as we can together, and if you can't make it here, enjoy it on your own. It's not just in this space. But the really important thing is, whatever happens, time is not on our side. It runs out. As it runs out, you will discover the preciousness, the poignancy, and the profound beauty of what it means to be here. And the fact that it's time-based and it ends only enhances its amazing nature. So we will experience that, share it, and love it together, and we will deal with the trauma of the outside world by being a force of love and unconditional acknowledgement and acceptance, and do the work we have to do. And truly, if that's just planting a garden, we'll plant the garden. It'll be enough, and we'll do our part. So I needed to get all that said, guys. It's really on my mind. It's really where I'm coming from. It's very possible it will continue, because the world around us isn't going to give us a lot of release from all of this. It'll be in the newspapers, it'll be on the news, it'll be everywhere, and it will be in the storm clouds that gather and the winds that rush through the trees more rapidly than they ever have, or the levels of whatever, cold and hot and snow. And it will, and every year will seem a little bit normal until it becomes more and more abnormal. And then the abnormal will be normal, and we'll accommodate until we can't. But at the core of all of that, we have us, until we don't. So, thank you for coming. I hope this this doesn't send you all running into the doors. But I truly want it to be said. Any questions, George?
Well, why does most people live in denial because they don't want to see their end, or as you get older, it's like your life is your book, and you're coming to the last few pages, and that's when everything is really real.
Not that people see that. People get to the end of their own book, and they still don't understand what the book was about or what it was, and they get angry, and you're going to kick me out of my house. You're not going to let me drive anymore. I got to go live in an institution. I mean, the ends for people are complicated, and everyone's a little different. Everyone has their own thing. But existentially, the existential fear of the end is so powerful, and almost nobody I know looks at it. I'm a different person. From my movies, every one of them is about
I was just watching
ending.
My Life on cable, because they're playing it over and over again.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I was like, it didn't make any money because people don't want to look at it.
They don't want to look at it. Right. But the New York Times, which hated My Life when it came out, gave it a star on the little television listing and said, affecting. It took me 30 years for them to go from hating it to finding it affecting. So I am so proud of that.
Maybe society's moving in.
Yeah, something is shifting. Something is shifting. I totally understand why people don't look at dying and death and why we're so afraid of it and all of that stuff. But the truth of the spiritual journey is that we're learning to accept life and death as part of a really true.
As you get older, you see more and more people dying.
Of course.
And you get more terrified of
Well, you do or not. I mean, what I'm discovering for myself, I was telling you the story yesterday, forgive me, this is gonna sound stupid, but I was in a bank with Blanche, and these people walked in, and I suddenly thought, my God, they may be robbing this bank. And I thought, I don't know why I thought that, it was just one of those odd configurations. And I thought I would be terrified. And what came up was, really? Really? This is how you're gonna take me out of the world, really? And I just sort of went, okay, okay. Normally I thought I would be terrified. And maybe in the actual reality of it I would, but I was shocked, but I have arrived at this place of going, okay, that's, what can I do? You know, and it's actually a big achievement to get to a point where I understand terminality, I understand finality, I understand the humor of the world in a way. Why a whole life would be taken out in that way would make no sense to me, and that makes complete sense, that it should be completely absurd. Oh well, like going to a party and somebody that mows down half the people at the party. I know that's a horrible thing. We look at it on the news and go, oh my God, how did these things happen? And from the people left behind, it's horrific. And maybe from the people leaving. But from my perspective now, it's like, okay, I'm aware that the world, that which manifests us, one, has a sense of humor, and two, our lives, the comings and goings of our lives, are a very small part of something very vast, and that the transformation from being into what you might think of as non-being, but may in fact become a greater being, is part of the whole. And if you love it while it's happening, chances are you will love it as it goes away. Because the love is the love. And you know, the last line of Ghost, the love inside, you take it with you. I truly believe that. And my whole role in this world is to put little lines out into the culture, you know, and that help people. But I believe them. I really believe them. On the other hand, I believe them, and then I get to a point where I can begin to say I know them. You know, I don't know when belief and knowledge overlap, or when there's complete awareness and knowing. I also really understand that I don't know anything. So that's very helpful. So not knowing is an arrival at a place of just radically going, yes. It's an incredible place.
And the ego's holding on to saying,
Yes, no, but it wears down. It wears away. The ego wears away, and we finally just become us, without all that other stuff. You know, I had a bowl of cereal for dinner the other night. I said, I can have a bowl of cereal for dinner, because there's no rules anymore. I'm old. I can do all this stuff.
we're worrying about what people are going to think after we go.
Yeah, right.
Because in 30 years, nobody's going to know who you were.
No, you are completely gone at some point.
Absolutely. I mean, all the people I thought were important people,
Right.
you know, in my business.
Right.
Yeah, 30 years after they're gone, nobody even heard of them anymore.
Of course. I have that in the movie business too. All I know is I love this journey. I love this thing.
Be here now and enjoy the moment.
And what else is there to say? Enjoy the moment. So, anybody else?
So why is like the Holocaust and Trump and these forces, why are they such forces, and like are they power or mutation, or like why doesn't such a powerful force of love, like, I don't know, wash it away?
I don't think we're ever going to answer those questions at all.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't around for the Holocaust. I mean, I was. In fact, I even think I was killed in the Holocaust. I've always had that sense of it. But the Trump thing is the first thing I've watched emerge, really, and I hate it on so many visceral levels. On the other hand, it is forcing a kind of new level of awareness for a lot of people. And if you can live a life without being anxiety-ridden and stressed by it all, you start to see how they push the envelope and they create something that has highs that you've never been had before and lows that we've never witnessed before. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be cyclical throughout the history of the human race. Right. And we're just watching another version of this. You know, these oligarchic, dictatorial, people come into play with power, and then finally the masses go no, and they do a big fight, and there's a period of incredible calm and humanity, and then it all starts again, and it goes on and on and on and on, and we are a very odd race of beings, but for some reason we were born with a spiritual component that can rise above, see it all, and actually begin a journey into something so, I think, from the things I'm experiencing, worth it, so beautiful, so rich, so love made manifest, really, truth made manifest. If this is the journey to get there, then I'm on it. If it's not, then what a waste of time. On the other hand, I got to meet Blanche, I got to meet my children, I got to meet my grandchildren, and I got to meet all of you. I would, and I have ice cream. I would come into the world for that, and probably did. So if it ends up really terribly, I've had this. And if it ends up well, this is frosting. That's all I can say. I don't think many people have any real answers. And if they do, they're theological, philosophical, and they're just mind.
Yeah.
The mind can't know this stuff. It's just way too big.
Yeah. It's kind of like addiction, like if you just do something so much that you hit a wall, then something beautiful can emerge. Yeah.
One would like that to be the case. But I don't know the rules. I really don't know. I just know Rudy said, sit every day for the rest of your life, open your heart, take a breath, ask for help to surrender, and watch what happens. And that's what I've done. And what has happened is happening, and I am able to sit here and share that journey. I've lived longer than he did. I don't think I had his depth or skill or talent, but I have what I have, and all of you have what you have, and we all have our version of that. And that's something we carry forth, and as a group of people can enrich the world with it. It's a really remarkable thing, even if it's enriching the lives of 2 other people. Doesn't matter. Numbers are not what it's about. Okay? Oh, yes. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
As you said, life is beautiful. And for me right now, I'm old too, like you are. And the most important part of my life right now, the family. And also the people that you know, and the people that you meet. And now there's a lot of old and new friends that we see today. And I'm very grateful that you came back. And how long we go? Like 6 years, 7 years?
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been looking forward that you'll be coming back, and it seems like God granted my wishes that you're back, and really it's coming from my heart that you are back. I really appreciate that you came back. And also we are closer to you now. We moved,
I
we
know.
have suffered, we are moved, so that's even an advantage. And going back to said life is beautiful. In my heart now, I don't even think of the negative things anymore. I don't even think what's gonna happen. I'll just enjoy the life that is with us. It doesn't matter if it comes 12 days, 12 years or what. I'll enjoy every minute of it with everybody that I know and with my family.
Thank you.
That's to me is I'll just go on, and when the time comes, just be prepared. I think that's so what you say. We just have to be prepared.
That's the teaching. Beautiful put. Thank you. I'm really glad you're here. So,
Thank you.
this is wonderful. So this continues. The next 3 weeks, Blanche and I are gone. I think I told you the Ghost is playing in Paris and Madrid and Bologna, and they invited us to come, which is wonderful. So I find it hard not to come, even though it's an odd time because we have so much going on in our lives. But our contractor said, "Good, be out of the house because we're going to do all the hard stuff while you're gone, and when you come back, that part will be over." That's very positive. Also, I saw a thing on YouTube yesterday of all of these people at work in Paris building the set for the show, and all these actors rehearsing, and I went, I had a little idea somewhere 35 years ago for a movie, now there are all these people all over the world that are working and doing stuff because an idea happened, a thought came up. I wanted to do a movie about a story of a ghost from the side of the ghost. That was all I had. And this world happened, and I watch, that's how life works. We have these little things that we come up with, and then they take on lives of their own, like having children, or like going to a meeting and actually saying something that everybody is moved by. Whatever it is, we impact the world and change it in its course. And it's the most wonderful thing. And you will not always know what you've done or how you've done it. If I hadn't seen that video, I wouldn't have thought about people working or building sets, but I went, oh, that's a really nice thing to have done. And so we're important. We're part of it. We're part of the whole. We all do. We're all a gift. And if everyone here keeps working, that gift will keep working, and it will work until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, that was always in the cards. So enjoy the part you got. And again, thank you for coming, for enduring this talk, and for letting me get it out of my mind and my head. Okay, thank you.